Hey, welcome back to Zog's Bullet Journal. When I started creating this spread, I wasn't sure what it would even be. I just knew that I wanted the Morton Salt Girl as the feature, and I let the design kind of unfold naturally before me. I kind of accidentally thought of the idea of the salt kind of spilling over into the bottom portion of the title page. And of course, there at the bottom, beneath the full monthly calendar, which I didn't really end up using so much, so I didn't carry that through to next month. But beneath it says, when it rains, it pours. And I reminded myself that that can also be a good thing. So for me, I repeated the phrase, when it rains, it pours, in a good way. And that kind of helped me dispel any fear attached to the phrase. Also, the knowledge of the history of the phrase. I originally thought of doing this video all about the Morton Salt Girl and her history and yada yada yada, blah blah. But then that idea bored me and just caused me to keep putting off filming this video, and I thought, well, if it bores me, it would probably bore you. And I'm probably not the vessel to deliver that video to you. So this is the video instead. There will be poetry though. I promise you by the end. So I started off the beginning of the month a little behind on my bullet journal, as which usually happens. So for the first 4 days of April, I just created this little new morning routine spread based on just some stuff I had picked up on some self-help guru or another. Sometimes I just like to try to reinvigorate my routines and things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This time would be one of the times where it kind of did not. I did like the thought of it though, and I think if I actually do it, it could be really good for me. That 15-minute meditation, I do meditation, supplements, and journaling. And I do those two things as well in the mornings, though perhaps a bit more sporadically. But I wanted to start to try and infuse some level of spontaneity into my routine a bit more, so I offered myself a variety of options to do, including dancing to drawing to planning to reading to juicing to bathing. Any number of mix and match things. And I do like that part of this. I think I'd like to try that again. In the notes for my week 1, nailed the interview, got the job, let yourself rest a little while. Oh yeah, so I picked up a new client. I'm working for a new company. So yeah, now I'm a copywriter and ad campaign manager for a advertising company. Yeah, a good turn of events, the kind that I've been wishing for. Week 2, I kind of switched the focus of which page got the focus. On the other page, I focused more on my weekly section. On this page, I focused on more of the overview portion. And in the notes I wrote, it's okay to shift your focus for a time to learn something new. Keep it light if you can. Just because I was getting a little bit stressed out and serious for a time. Really bogged down with a lot of new information and then other just life whirlwinds going on at the same time. Sometimes it's good to remind yourself to just keep it light if you can. Week 3 overview. Find the people attuned to you. I don't know Have I found those people yet? Or if those people exist, where those people exist? Those people must exist. In fact, I suspect they do exist in my life as is, if I were to look around. Still though, I understand what I mean. I am looking for a specific something that maybe isn't even there. Let's see, week 4 interview. In my notes, I wrote, expect something wonderful. Kind of got that advice as an oracle card drawn from someone of sorts. And I think it's an interesting card, an interesting thought. Because I do like the idea, to at least play with the idea, of programming realities with your mind. It's a fun game to play, anyway. So maybe it doesn't hurt to expect something wonderful every now and again. Maybe it's better in some ways for your brain. At least it seems to help mine, so I like to do that if I can. So, on to the central shebang. The reason the thing was begun. And that was the Salt Girl and her mystery slogan. Well, the slogan came from the fact that salt, less well-contained than it is these days, would often clump together and be difficult to use, particularly in the rain. The moisture would cause the salt particles to stick together. Well, here enters Morton Salt with their solution to rainy weather. And so, they added a chemical compound to their mix, and thus began the advertising slogan, the proverb as it became, when it rains it pours. Simply as an advertising turn of phrase to describe the benefit of buying their salt. But then the phrase got taken off and away by pop culture and took on a life of its own. That happens so often. There's another phrase, actually, where the same thing has happened. The quote, well-behaved women seldom make history. A phrase taken out of context and heralded. And it is a very interesting phrase. And I very much like the kind of ideas that rally behind it. But the person who originally wrote it just meant it offhand, Not really in a battle cry the way that it became. They just meant, well, here's what we know of women from that time, but we didn't know much because well-behaved women rarely made history, So I think it's wise to keep in mind the ways that things can take on a mind of their own beyond the original intention, for better or for worse. And I suppose it's up to you to judge what that is. When windows won't open and salt clogs the shaker, the weather will favor the umbrella maker. And so, the Morton Salt Girl gives her answer. When it rains, It pours with her. All right, bye.